officially welcome you all to tonight's final event for the Digital Feedback and Assessment PD. And so we'll be wrapping this up this evening. So welcome. Thank you for coming. And look for future digital takeout sessions, but this is the last one in this event series, basically. So as we look at this, several of you have been in our Google takeouts or digital takeouts before, but in case you're new, just a few housekeeping things. We ask that you keep your mic muted. We also ask that you ask questions through the chat box, and we'll try to get to your questions throughout the session tonight. And then if not, we can address those in the Q&A. And then we also have the slide deck that we've been putting in the chat. You might want to go ahead and open that and pin it just so you have that available so you can refer to it while we're doing the session tonight. And then we also like to remind everybody that just having these housekeeping things at the beginning of a Google Meet is always best practice. And we do have an expectations guide here that Lauren put together. You can make a copy of this and change some of these, make it your own, put your Bitmoji in there, and use that as a part of your Google Meet expectations for your students. So I'm Angie White, Director of Instructional Technology. The ladies really digging into the content tonight are Roslyn Manning, if you want to wave, and then Lauren Rata. And they'll be sharing with you all this evening. And then we try to make sure that everybody is aware that our training isn't just training on things that we think might be good practice or best practice. We actually base these on our online teaching standards. And for this series, we have 3 standards that are covered in this training. And so we have Standard D, Standard G, and Standard H. We're not going to spend a lot of time on those. But if you're interested, when you open up the slide deck, the link at the top is a hyperlink to those standards so that you can go and investigate those further. And then each time we've kind of changed this up a little bit. And as you, as we think about digital feedback and assessment, think about this quote from Grant Wiggins. It says, "The more you teach without finding out who understands the concepts and who doesn't, the greater the likelihood that only already proficient students will succeed." And that comes from his work in 2006. And Grant, if you're not familiar with Grant Williams, he's widely known for his work in assessment reform. He's the author of Educative Assessment and Assessing Student Performance. And he's a lead consultant in a lot of different state assessment reform initiatives, such as the Portfolio Project in Vermont and Performance Assessment Consortia in New Jersey and in North Carolina. He's definitely worth looking up and seeing some of his work. This is a graphic that we've had throughout the series, and just looking at the difference between formative and summative assessment. So that formative assessment is taking place during instruction so that we can make adjustments and provide that ongoing feedback for our students so that we make sure that they're accessing the content and their learning is correct learning. They don't have misconceptions. And then finally, summative assessment is to evaluate the students' learning through that cycle at the very end, and then comparing it against some kind of benchmark. So I will turn it back over to Lauren and Roslyn now. Let me stop presenting. And ladies, you can take over.
All right. Well, I am going to go ahead and share my screen. I'm going to give you just an overview. If you've been in our digital takeouts before, this will not be new to you, but we've got several new faces. So we just wanted to share with you like the layout of what tonight will look like. So give me just 1 second. All right, so this slide just gives you a brief overview of what tonight is going to look like. And so for each tool that we go over, I'll go over first Nearpod, and that'll be kind of our deep dive tool. And then Lauren will go over 2 additional tools. And then at the end, we've got like an extra kind of dessert that we probably will not have a chance to go over, but there are resources there for you. So for each tool that we look at today, we'll have a blue slide, which is like our overview slide. Just gives you a brief explanation of what the tool is and some videos and resources for how do you get started, like how do you create your account and those types of things. So that's the blue slide. And then for each of the tools will have an assessment slide, which will be green. And so this would be how can you use this particular tool just for assessment? And then if the tool lends itself really well to feedback, we've also got a purple slide for feedback. And so not every tool will have feedback. So it just won't be there for all of them. And then all of the slides will have an orange slide for examples and resources for later. And these were things that we felt like might be useful, but didn't necessarily fit exactly into assessment and feedback. But just things that you might like to know to make your time using the tool easier or maybe even more engaging for students and that type of thing. So that's our overview of what tonight is going to look like. The first tool that we're going to go over tonight is Nearpod. And this is just a digital platform that allows you to create interactive lessons. You can do videos, formative assessments. You can do all sorts of things within Nearpod. And I don't know how many of you have used it before. I used it, I want to say, I think it was like 2017, 2018, and I really just kind of felt like it was okay. And then really in the last year, Nearpod has exploded, and it is just a phenomenal resource for you to be able to create engaging lessons for your students. I will be showing you, everything I show you today will be with the free version. The big difference between the free and the premium is that the free version gives you a limited amount of storage space. And then you can have up to 40 students per session. The premium version allows you more students and I believe unlimited storage space. But at least with what I've been doing with the Nearpod with teachers and just in my experience, that free version has been enough for me. So I'll be able to kind of show you that as well. Before we get started with Nearpod and like me showing you what tools are available for assessment and all of that, I want you to be able to participate in a Nearpod just so you can see what it looks like as a student. And so on my screen here, I've got a join code. And so I'm actually going to, so you can see it, highlight with my mouse. You are going to go to join.nearpod.com and then you will type in this code. There is also an app that if you wanted to have that on your device or if students wanted to have that on their device, they can use that. But what I love about Nearpod is that you can just pick up your phone, go to Safari, and go to join.nearpod.com.
My desktop computer is completely spinning, so not wanting to download it.
Oh wait, is my microphone?
Does it work better on a Chromebook versus like a school desktop?
I don't know. I mean, I have not. Sometimes I've seen Nearpod spin like that, but not very often. let me put this link into the chat box, and that way maybe it will be a little bit better.
And it may be better just to close out of that particular tab and then try again in a new tab, just in case.
For sure. And I'll show you over here as well. So when I went to join.nearpod.com, it gave me this. And so I would just enter that code. I'm going to come over here and just Control C and then Control V to paste it in and hit join. And then it asks for, it recognizes me because I've done this before, but it says Rosalind Manning. You may have to actually type in your name. But what is nice, at least for students, is if they've done a Nearpod for you before, when they join the next one, it will most likely remember their name unless they're on a different device or something. If you for some reason get kicked out or whatever it may be, you can see up here in the top left corner, it says code. And so that code is there. You're just going to join.nearpod.com. And I can see down here, I've got 10 participants. I can hide student names when I'm looking at like responses and that sort of thing. So I currently have this in in teacher paste. So I'm kind of controlling what you're going to see on your device, but there is a student paced version as well, which could be great for asynchronous instruction. Like if you wanted, especially going into NTI, if you want kids, you want to assign this at the beginning of the day and just give them all day to work on it, you can do that as well. So I'm going to go ahead and click, and it says this slide contains audio. Where would you like this audio clip to be played? As a teacher, I'm going to just say all devices. The audio that it includes is just instructions, audio instructions that I created. So I'm going to play this. Hope it'll turn out okay when it's coming through your speakers.
On the next slide, use your mouse or your finger if you're using a tablet to explore Santorini, Greece.
So you can record audio instructions, which could be great for some of those kids who either are younger learners and don't read very well, or maybe are not reading yet, or just students who need a little more support there. And so I'm going to hit this arrow to take you to the next slide. And what you will see, is it going to load? Let's see. Okay. What you will see is this.
Let me join on my laptop, Rebecca, but not the.
You will see Santorini, Greece. And so on Nearpod, you actually have built-in VR opportunities for students. And so I can take my mouse and just drag around. And this is one that Lauren and I have used in a second grade classroom recently. Like I think it was right before fall break or right after fall break. And so this is even easy for the little ones to be able to navigate. And so they can go, turn all the way around and get real confused looking through all this. But there are lots of different locations and settings similar to this where students can explore, which is really nice. If they're stuck at home, they can, I like looking at Greece. This is my bucket list travel destination. So you have things like this that students can do through Nearpod. And then I'm going to go ahead and hit the next arrow so you can see what this is. This is just a simulation, which I could see being really great. This is a math one, but they have all different types of things. They have like maybe not every content, but a lot of different content areas and different things that you can do with it. And so when students, I've chosen fractions for this particular assignment. And so students can go in and then I can click on, let's just say I'll do level 2. And so it will give me fractions here, 1 3/4. So I'm going to drag this here, but I still need 3/4. And so I'm going to add a rectangle, and this one has the 4 blocks, and I can drag here 3/4. And so once I've got 1 3/4, I can drag this over here. And then it tells me if I've gotten it right. So I'll give you a second to kind of play with that. Yes, Abby, I'm looking at the chat real quick. Yes, these are pre-made on Nearpod. So I did not have to create this at all. I picked whatever assignment I wanted to do. This one I just chose fractions, and it was already created for me. And then as a student, you can refresh here. Okay, I'm going to move us on to the next slide. This is a Collaborate board, and you may notice on your device it says this Collaborate board is waiting for teacher input. So I just need to click this button. Would you like to approve student comments before they are posted? I trust y'all, so I'm just going to go ahead and say no. But nice to know that that is an option for you if you want to be able to approve comments from your students. So what have you seen about Nearpod that you like? So you can type in your response down here. You can even add in images and then post. I love ... and then I'll hit post. And I can see here, Lauren has responded, Abby has responded, and if I want to, I can click hide student names, and it gives me just a bunch of asterisks there if you want it to be a little more anonymous. I'm going to go ahead and show them real quick. So I really like this because it's in real time. And so these responses are popping up as you are posting them, which can be great for, I mean, I could see this being used for synchronous or asynchronous instruction, but a really good way as well to get some formative assessment data from your students, just to be able to see, you know, what are they picking up from this lesson and what might you need to go back and reteach and that sort of thing. So I really like this Collaborate board. It kind of reminds me a little bit of Padlet, which is something that we looked at. I want to say it was the last digital takeout session, but really almost like a little online cork board type thing. Okay, so I am going to go ahead. I'm going to get out of Nearpod. I'm going to leave this session. I can resume later if I want to. But I wanted to show you, well, before I show you a few of the assessment features in here within Nearpod, do I have any questions that I can answer before I move on to that?
So when the students were doing it, like when I was trying to do it, like, does it tell me if I'm right or wrong?
Like when
like I was trying to, like I was, whoops, I just exited out.
No, I don't think it does. Now, I did not choose. You can create like multiple choice type questions within Nearpod. For those, I don't think it tells you if the student, well, as a student, I don't think it tells you if it's right or wrong.
Right. Okay. That's what I was trying to make a wrong answer to see if it would, what it would do.
Yeah, I don't think it does, but I'll have to double check on that. We'll have to play around with that one.
Okay.
So when you join Nearpod, this is what you're going to see. This is kind of this is my library. So when you log in, you're automatically going to be taken to your library. But there is a Nearpod library, which I love because you can narrow down by subject area and grade level. And so I'm just going to click on English, maybe 3rd grade. And so you've got all of these lessons here, and you can decide if you want lessons or videos. So I'm just going to click on lessons, and then you can choose one. I'll click on this one. And I can go ahead and add this to my library if this is something I think I might want to use. And then it'll tell me show in my library. So I'll click on that, and it takes me to my library. I can go ahead and do a student-paced lesson. I can edit this if I want to. Like, I really like this lesson, but I need to tweak it to fit how I've been teaching my students, I can edit as well. So you have a lot of options right there from that Nearpod library. But I am going to show you just when you're creating a lesson. So like I said, when you log into Nearpod, it's going to bring you to my library. And so I'm going to go to create, and I'm just going to create lessons. They call each of these pages slides, so kind of feels like you're creating a slide deck. You can go ahead and give it a title. Feedback sample. When you add slides, look at all of these options you have. You've got videos, which kind of allows you to embed questions within the video. And this is new. You can see it's in beta, so they're still tweaking that. You can add web content. So this would be like a website. If you added the Oldham County Schools website there, you can do that. This is where I know there were some questions about the PhET simulation, so I'll go ahead and click on that just so you can see it. But you can, I mean, we'll look at elementary math. You've got all sorts of different things here. Balancing, arithmetic. I mean, just tons of stuff on here that you can select. Those are the fractions that I was using earlier. But we can create a function builder and hit done. And then here it is right here in your Nearpod. You can click on that and then preview to see what students will see. And one of the things I love about the preview feature in Nearpod is it actually allows you to like play with it and really kind of like use it the way a student would use it. So I really like the preview feature in Nearpod, because sometimes as a teacher, it's hard to know, well, what exactly are my students going to see? This is what they're going to see. And you can actually like play with the different tools. So I like that a lot. So you've got, that was the PhET simulation, the VR field trips, which is one that I showed you earlier in that sample. And I can show you just some of the different destinations that they have. You can type in destinations. I'm going to wonder if they've got a theater, maybe like the Globe Theater or something. But you can see kind of in the background while it's loading, there are tons of different options. Yeah. Lots of theaters here. So if you're a drama teacher or something like that, I mean, or even an English teacher and you're looking at plays and that sort of thing, I mean, you've just got so many options here. And then the PDF viewer is literally just a PDF viewer. Like if you have a PDF that you want students to read, that's all it's going to do. They're not really interacting with that. The activities are some of those things that you're really going to get into for that assessment. The time to climb is kind of like a Kahoot game or a quizzes game where they're racing against their classmates as like a little way to assess them in that way. You've got open-ended questions, which one of the things I really love about the open-ended questions, you would type your question in here. You can add a timer if you want to, but you can enable student audio recordings. And Lauren and I just used this in a second grade classroom, and it was so easy for them because at that age, they're just not quite wonderful at typing yet. And so this enables student audio recording was wonderful because they could just hit that little microphone button and record, and they've got their answer there. So we really liked that. Yes, I'll cancel that. And then you've got quiz type questions. So if I were to click on that, you would type your question in here, type your answer options, and I can select that correct versus incorrect answer. But there was that question earlier about whether it is whether it tells the student whether they're right or wrong. I'm not 100% sure on that. So we'll have to test that one out. And you can also add answer options. And if you're a math teacher, you've got some math type things that you can use here. So several things that you can use with different content areas as well. And then let's see, if you've used Flipgrid, you can actually embed your Flipgrid into Nearpod. If you've never used Flipgrid, tonight's dessert works out really nicely because it is on Flipgrid. So you can kind of app smash and use a few different tools together that way as well. You've got a draw it option where you can have students actually draw on the screen. If they've got a Chromebook or a computer, you know, they're drawing with their mouse. So it's a little bit more frustrating for them if they're using that trackpad. But if they're using an iPad, you know, they can touch that screen, or if they're using their cell phone or their parent's cell phone, they can touch that screen and interact with it that way. So these are just several of those assessment pieces. I could not possibly have enough time to talk about all of the aspects of Nearpod, especially with the assessment and all the options that you have. But Nearpod has a fabulous YouTube channel. And so what I did is went through their YouTube channel and found videos that they've created. And I'm talking like these videos are maybe about 2 minutes. So they're really quick and they're specific to whatever tool it is that I've got written out here. Some of them they didn't have a video for, so I did create some for that so that you would have them. But all of these are just like instructional videos on how to use these tools and create these things within Nearpod. For our examples and resources for later, Nearpod also has a Google Slides add-on, which will allow you to create your Nearpod in a Google slide deck that you've got right here. Like on my screen, I could just go ahead and use that. Of course, not enough time to talk about that tonight, but they've got a great little video on that. And they had some great resources for like home-based learning, which is applicable to us again. And so just several different things that we thought might be useful for you as you're exploring Nearpod. But I will say, I mean, we have used this in a second grade classroom recently, and we're planning to use this with kindergartners if we can. So I think this is something that all students could possibly use, especially because it's so easily accessible on a cell phone or a Chromebook or whatever device they're using. So I do think this is something you could absolutely use during NTI as we begin that tomorrow. So I'm going to just check for any like last minute questions, and then I will turn it over to Lauren. Stop presenting.
All right. I think
It
let's
looks like we
question.
do have a question before you get started, Lauren.
Yeah, I see that. That's popped up. So even for little kids, you prefer this over Seesaw. Good question, Rebecca. Do you mind if I pop into that one, Rosalind? And let's see. So I guess I see Seesaw as a great way to kind of, yes, keep it and house it all in one place. But Nearpod just offers a few additional tools that like the content that she showed that we're not going to be able to necessarily pull in from Seesaw. And so even though I would probably on Seesaw post the directions for my students on how to go to, the join.nearpod.com, and I might put that code in there. But once they get there, like I said, they can have within those slides, they might have a VR experience where they can look around, which may not have been possible. And then we go to the next slide, and all of a sudden, we're dragging and dropping manipulatives. And then we go to the next slide, and then maybe I have a quick question for them or a video. And so it kind of puts a lot of different, what you would have activities in Seesaw, and kind of puts it into one place. So I guess that's the way I see it. So does that kind of answer your question, Rebecca? Okay, perfect. So it's not that I don't prefer it over, it just gives me more opportunities, but I would still put that one main link of how to get to it in Seesaw for them to see though. And then let's see how many students Rosalind talked about. Yes, 40 students per session. Okay, there's not any questions on Nearpod. I'll go ahead and share my screen or present my screen, and we'll go ahead and we'll move on to Cami. All right. So I kind of feel like Cami is one of those extensions that some people have heard of, some have not. And then once they have heard of it, they feel like changes their lives. Tonight, we are going to talk about it more of that student-centered side. But I think that once we get into it, you'll also see how, as a teacher, for efficiency, you might be able to use this Cami PDF annotator to help you with productivity within your professional life as well. So be kind of looking out for those things. Well, first, what is Cami? Cami is an online app, and it's a specifically Google Chrome extension that I'll be kind of showing you tonight that allows you and your students to annotate PDFs. You can share those with links so that others can collaborate on one file, but you can also post them like assignments through Google Classroom, so it also makes a copy for each student, and they also can have their own. So it kind of works in both ways. This is our getting started slide. So if you need more information later, if you're interested, this link will take you to the Chrome Web Store to download it. This is they're the same way as Nearpod is. They have a wonderful YouTube playlist that has a ton of videos that can help support you. This will talk to you about how to use your Google Drive with Cami, how to like pull and sync in those PDFs, as well as if you are someone who's using Google Classroom. I'll show you this here in a minute also, but it has that natural integration into Classroom where when you go to classwork and assign something, there's actually Cami within there if you have the extension downloaded to go ahead and just assign things to kids right from Google Classroom. So that's really nice. So let's look at Cami on the assessment side first. I do want to kind of show you all the free tools tonight. Since I've had Cami for a while, you'll notice that my screen literally looks like the only tools you see are free. If you're downloading it for the first time tonight, just like any extension or software, you're going to get probably that 30-day free trial where they're trying to hook you, and you'll have additional tools for a little bit that you'll notice. But I am just going to showcase here on this slide the free tools that you will continue to have no matter what day you're on of using Cami. So instead of going through this, you can always come back to this slide and watch this video tutorial to link to remind yourself later. But I would like to walk you through this live in person. And so how this works is, so I have already downloaded the Cami extension. I know because up here within my extension toolbar, I have that little purple round Cami extension. So when I'm ready to get started, I can click on it, and it's going to kind of take me to my Cami dashboard. The first time you download it, you might have to what we call like that syncing your account. I know I'm on Lauren Rawtop because it shows it up here, but you might have to allow it permissions the very first time, and you may do that. And then you can see I can then from this point, I can open something that I already have in my Google Drive to start getting started annotating, highlighting, whatever I need to do. I can open it from a computer. I can from here create a classroom assignment. So you can start from Cami and assign things to kids, or opposite. I can be in Classroom and pull up something from Cami. Or if you just want to start with a new blank page, you can do that. I have some recent mentor things I kind of pulled up. So also your recent things will pop up here as well. And so I already have up an example I'd like to show you. Actually used this with a 5th grade classroom last year. We had that Amaya article that students, we wanted them to engage in. And so instead of, pulling open I think this was a Time magazine, some sort of magazine, Kids Discover, we decided to pull it up digitally to give us additional opportunities to help make meaning of the text. We also were able to kind of pull other kids in they were able to get on one PDF and annotate and comment together. And so that's kind of how it took it past that, just that replacing. It's not that we were just taking it, making it digital all of a sudden. It opened up new doors and opportunities for our students as well. Over here, this is your toolbar. And as you can see, the tools that are available to me look normal, but the ones that I do not no longer have do have that lock button, because those are those paid features that I will not go over, but you can explore them on your own. I find that the free version that I have had for years now does what I need it to do and is well for my students. So I have not, really, would it be nice sometimes to have text to speech? Yes. But there's other ways to do that as well by using built-in features of a Chromebook or an iPad to still get those capabilities. And so the selector allows you to select things that you've already done. But I'd like to start by the markup. The markup, think about that like a highlighter. When I click markup, you'll notice I have some options. I first have a text highlighter, which will let me do just individual words or lines. I have a box highlighter, which I prefer to use, especially like if I want to highlight an entire image or a text feature or part of a page, I use the box highlighter. And then you have striking through if you want them to take out what is not important or what is important, underlining, and then you have your color wheel here. So like I said, I can choose the text highlighter if maybe I want maybe all my questions in blue if I'm confused on where North or South America is. As you can see, as I move my cursor and hold it down, it's highlighting that text for me in blue for students to have. The box highlighter, maybe I want to highlight the text features, in pink. So as you can see, I'm highlighting that as well. Strike through, and you can even choose the color. Maybe everything that's not important to me, I want red, so I can specifically highlight what I want to strike through. As you can see, Cami will strike that through for me. And same thing, if I wanted to determine what is important to me in green, maybe I can put that there. As you see, it underlines it.
I need to leave.
You're taking Katie and
So, and you can also find
5:45.
well.
So
If
she
you,
starts at 5:45.
Yeah,
So leave here at
5:45 to 7. 5:45. Yeah.
Hey, Kelly, do you mind muting your mic, please? It's going over the others. Thank you.
and then commenting is here as well. And so I find this helpful. So a lot of times as a learner, I like to highlight, but I also always like to have a comment. So maybe if this was important to me, I could say, I also want to comment. And when you click on it, it's going to, let me put that up there. There we go. A little dot that I can drag around. And as you can see over here, it says that I can now type in. So this text feature was helpful for me. So you can annotate there and you click off, as you can see. The student now has their comment. It's kind of like having a sticky note there to the side. But also, if they turn this in as a teacher, I could also see their thinking as well as we'll talk about this in a minute. But as you can see, we can leave a reply, so I can give the student feedback as well from here. As you can see also, when I do go to type, that lock button. So some of you might be thinking, oh, they can do voice typing, but remember that is a paid feature. So we can still use workarounds like using on the keyboard, the natural built-in, as well as on a Chromebook. We have that naturally built-in as well that we can initiate to still get that feature there. So that is comment, markup, comment, and then text box works a little bit differently. And I'd actually like to show you that on a different example. So I also have graph paper here. And so this might also be another opportunity. Maybe in math, you want to assign kids just a piece of blank graphing paper. And then they can draw shapes if they want. So this is where I think our shapes tool would really come in context. So as you can see, we've got rectangles, we've got circles, triangles, lines, and then the colors as well. How thick we want our lines to be, and as well as transparency. So let's say I want to, I'm going to make a square here. And then maybe, so this is where I really find that text box to come in handy, is maybe I want a text box and maybe I'm going to do area and perimeter here. So as I click, I can say maybe this is 2 feet. And you then get also the toolbar up here, so you can make the text, you can change the text as well to make it larger, bold, you have a ton of options here. So maybe I want another text box. As a student, I could, make a diagram within math and solve. Maybe I want another text box up here and say that this is 5 feet and so on. Oh. Sorry, someone. Let me go to the undo. There we go. That's always another helpful tool, right? That undo and redo button. And as you can see, it's always saving also at all moments. So that's really nice as well. So that is the text box feature that I find helpful as well as within shapes. I did want to show you that inserting line too. So you can always use lines. Same thing. You can always change the color, thickness, a lot of options. Another example I wanted to show you is also the coordinate plane. So this could be another way. Maybe you're picking another type of template to share with students within Kami. So it doesn't always just have to be text. I feel like when we think of PDFs, we think of kids always highlighting text, marking it up with, Post-its and comments, asking questions, but it can be in other content areas as well. And so here, I can see that drawing option being helpful. So drawing lets me literally just draw. Actually, I'm gonna make this a little bit thicker. Maybe I am, plotting points on a coordinate grid, so students can do that as well. And they can even, within shapes, insert that line, draw that line to connect them. They could then use the text box here to explain what that is. So that is 2, 2, and so on. So as you can see, there are just so many possibilities and uses with Kami. So those are those basic tools that you could assess your students using. I'm sure, like I said, you can find in your brain, you're probably thinking of even more things that you could do with it in different content areas. As for, let's come back to our slides, feedback. How can this be used to also give your students feedback? Like I said, that markup tool I kind of showed you, the marking up, that's where, and giving those comments, students, you could also go back within their document. So if a student had this and turned it in as a teacher view, and I'll show you how that works in Google Classroom in just a second, I can physically get on theirs. And I could also, as a teacher, use the exact same tools. I could highlight something and ask them, what do you think of this part of the text? Or tell me more about this. I can also leave a comment on here as well. If maybe they had a question, I could click, and as the teacher, I could do the exact same thing. I could say, go back in the text and define this word, or so I can also give them that feedback within here. I did want to just quickly show you what that looks like in Google Classroom. And I pulled the video because I think that would be quicker than me getting in Google Classroom. So let's see if this pops up for us real quick. So you can see this is the teacher view. And so they've assigned it. When the student turns it in and they click on it, it pulls it up right here within Google Classroom. And so they can see the students' annotations and they can respond right here. And so I think that's really helpful because it pulls it up within Google Classroom. That's why I do love that integration. Yes, you could go back in Kami if that student shared it with you and find it, but how nice is it that you can go in right there where they've turned it in. It pulls it up still within Google Classroom. You still have your same tools to highlight and annotate, and you can return it right back to them here all within one place. So that is very nice. I really enjoy that.
So Lauren, we do have a question. Did you assign that in a Kami document? So can you clarify?
Yes, ma'am. So you can do two things. You can either get the link and just, so especially if you're in like Seesaw, that would be helpful to give students the link from there. But let me show you in Google Classroom here. I do have a Google Classroom open. Since I have Kami downloaded as an extension already, now when I go to classwork in any Google Classroom class, when I go to create, I have Kami assignment here. And so now I can click here and I can create the assignment all within here. So that's super nice. So make sure you check out that feature. But remember, you have to have it downloaded first. So if it's not downloaded, I do not believe that will pop up for you under that create button. But you can also just give there within the link and they can click open up in Kami as well. And so make sure you come back to here so that you can see that how to use it. It will explain to you how you can use Kami with your Google Drive and how you can integrate it. And it'll show you step by step on how to assign that. Also here for later, you have the whole playlist. Also, if you're thinking, I do have, some things I'm already using, how can I change that over, especially with remote learning right now, into an interactive Kami document? Check out this video. It's super helpful to show you how to scan that in. And then once you get it, you do need to, there's an option here. It's called OCR, which is that optical recognition. I forget exactly what it stands for, but it will make any doc that you or anything that you have scanned in that was a PDF into, it will let you make that into something that is able to highlight word by word and everything like that. So make sure you check this out. There's some shortcuts, and then also an annotation summary tool, which is really nice if students have a lot of comments. It kind of concises it and puts it all in one. So check out those resources. I'm so happy Rosalind just informed me via text that integration with Classroom is now a premium feature. So I'm so sorry I said that, and now it looks like that is something that has gone away. So if you do sign up for it now, it looks like you'll have it for the next month, but as always, that is something that will have to be paid. So whether you are in Seesaw or Google Classroom, you are going to have to assign that and make a copy for each student on your own. So that's unfortunate. I do have just a few minutes to get to my next one. I think we really went into Kami very deeply. My next tool is Seesaw. Now, a lot of you might be thinking, I thought, we were using Seesaw as that digital hub for our younger students. But what I don't think sometimes people see is that it can also be used in the upper grades as well for students to use, because it offers so many tools and features for them to use to demonstrate their learning and to give each other or the teacher to give feedback as well. If you're not familiar with Seesaw, it is a digital app that allows, like it says, students, teachers, and families to kind of share and complete classwork all in one place. Here in a second, I'm going to show you all the different ways they can do that. But what's really nice is both the teacher and the families can see that portfolio. Whereas in Google Classroom, it is kind of locked down to where students can see it and parents get those what we call guardian summaries, but they truly can't see the assignments that are given. And so that's kind of nice that Seesaw allows you to do that. If you need help with signing up and getting started, please make sure you come here to this page. And each of these are videos to help you with that. Here are those supportive tools for assessment that I'd like to show you live really quickly. And then I'll go over a few feedback tools as well. So I'm going to pull up really quickly over here my Seesaw training class. Here it is. So I'm here in Seesaw. I'm in just a quick test class that only has a sample student in it. And I've only made one activity. I want to show you two ways that students could demonstrate their learning. When they're in a Seesaw class, they can either just add or post to their journal on their own. So if they want to share some of their learning that they've done with the teacher and with their families, they can do that. As well as the second option I'm going to show you are activities. And think about that like in Google Classroom when you assign an assignment. So it's something that's kind of already pre-made for them. But let me show you that journal first. So if a kid goes to post their student work, you have options. You could post a photo. So as you can see, it pulls me up automatically. So that's really nice. Students could take a picture of their work, or if they were in NTI situation, if they were building something or engineering it, they could take a photo of it and upload it. You can do a drawing. And so from here, they've got pen tools down here, pencil, a lot of different colors, ways to demonstrate their learning, a pen, a highlighter, a magic marker, eraser, all sorts of ways they can demonstrate their learning just by drawing it here on the screen. For our students who don't necessarily like to draw, there's a text box even. They can type their thinking if they want. You can record your voice from this screen and even, yet again, take a photo, video, or upload something as well as shapes. So, I mean, the possibilities are endless here. As you can see, shapes don't just include shapes. They even include manipulatives. They have our base 10 blocks here as well for students to use. So many ways to demonstrate their learning. From here, you can also just upload a video. So if a student wanted to record themselves explaining something where it's really important that not only you hear their voice, but they also could see, you click the video button and it's that easy. It pops up whether you're on an iPad, on anything with a camera, and it lets them in a microphone record it right from there. They could upload something they already have from their device or from Drive. The Note is a notebook, and so if they like that lined paper, you can publish something. I think that, as you can see, it looks like notebook paper. That's a nice tool. Or last but not least, a student could upload a link. So if they have a website that they visited that they think would help to demonstrate their learning, or that they found they want to share with you or their family, they can do that. If they've created a website of their own, maybe they could upload that link as well. So many ways they can demonstrate their learning through that journal. Through activities, that means that I have given the student an assignment, whether that's just directions, or it could be even a template. And on this one, it is a template that I've attached. And so when I click on it and I add a response, I'm going to be sample student. you have some of the same tools that we saw before. So now that there's a template here, students can draw on anything, as you can see. Highlight. So if this was maybe a PDF, they could also highlight and determine importance. They still have these other tools. They can type text box if they want. They can record their voice, and all you have to do is say start recording. And I think that the life cycle plant includes this, that, and this. And they can add their recording on here for the teacher to listen to. And then they also have the same options of adding a photo, video, or uploading something they've already either taken, like a picture from their camera roll or a video as well. Yet again, they also have shapes, backgrounds, and links. And so there's so many ways that students can demonstrate their learning here in Seesaw. Please start over and come on back. I know I didn't have a lot of time, but here, please come back and watch this video. We'll talk to you about these 6 tools more in depth again, and as well as here, those tools for responding specifically. Watch that video as well. For feedback, I am running out of time, but how feedback works is it is just a like or a comment, but comments can be text or voice. So there's a video here, but to quickly show you, I did submit something already. And so as you can see, I can like it or I can comment as a teacher. And so I can physically type in my comment. I like how you did this to my student if I want. Or if you may have also noticed, if I take my text out, I have that record option. So I can also use my voice to give students feedback as well and say, I really liked how you did this. You do have a 2-minute limit though. And now the student can listen to my voice instead as feedback. And so that's how you can give feedback on each and every Seesaw, whether it's a journal entry or an activity they've completed. So that's nice. Here are those examples and resources for later. If you want to go beyond the basics, go ahead, and especially if you're already familiar, check this out. We have our Denise O'Brien as our Seesaw expert here in Oldham County. She has a training playlist that you could check out. The icon shortcuts, if you prefer, if you're a visual person, if you like, you can come see this presentation through slides that has images on how to do these things. And also, we have a tips for commenting on Seesaw for parents. Yes, you can allow parents to also give feedback. We just recommend that just like you train your students on how to give appropriate feedback, parents also actually need those tips as well. And so you can check out these tips for parents, and this is actually a sheet you could just give or share with parents on, why do we give students feedback, and how in Seesaw can they, and give them examples and some sentence stems for parents as well. So we're making sure they give their students that positive feedback to help them grow as learners. Like we mentioned, we probably wouldn't have time, and we don't, for our digital dessert tonight. The digital dessert is Flipgrid. So make sure that you come back to this slide deck and that you explore these resources that Rosalind has put together, how to get started, how you can use Flipgrid for assessment, how you can use Flipgrid to give your kids feedback. And I also just want to mention that now Flipgrid lets you do text also for feedback and not just video. That's something that came out last week. So that's helpful. How to go on, beyond with Flipgrid as well. And so now for our last couple of minutes, before we get to those questions, you're welcome to stay on if you have questions, but we do want to give everybody, respect your time, and give you that opportunity though to give us feedback as well as to get credit for being here tonight. And so I think Rosalind's going in now, and she's going to paste this bit.ly link in the chat there in Google Meet. So if you want to go there to that link, it's a quick Google form. Not only will it give you credit, so we will send this spreadsheet to office managers and people at schools so that they have they know who was here and attended, so you get credit for being here tonight, as well as we would love to know your feedback. What went well for you tonight? What would you like to see in the future? I know this is the last one of our assessment and feedback series, but we're going to pick right back up in January with a new series. And so we can still use your feedback to help us guide us in planning that as well. So let us know about the formatting. Did you enjoy having multiple tools, or would you rather just have a few? Things like that. Does this time of night work well for you, or would you rather see this at a different time? Just please give us any and all feedback so that we can make these learning opportunities the best they can be to meet your needs. So I will leave this up for just a second, but like I said, Rosalind also put that in the chat. And then I'm going to unpresent, And you can go ahead and fill out that form, and we can also hit on questions at the same time.
So thanks, Lauren. Does anybody have any questions about any of our tools that we talked about tonight?
I don't have any questions, but I wanted to give a big thank you to Angie, Lauren, and Rosalind for doing these series on these different tools for digital takeout. It's been great to have these short, quick PDs on these different options and be able to get a lot of information quickly to dive in more in depth later on. Thank you all.
Well, thank you, Carrie.
I agree, Carrie. It's been nice. It's been super fast. It's like overload of information, but at least we've got links and things, and the videos are very quick to be able to reference back to. So I got a lot to learn and explore on my free time.
Yes, everybody has so much of that.
Exactly.
So true.
Thanks.
Hey, Lauren, on Cami, if I have a document that they've already typed, can you upload that to Cami and annotate it there?
Good question. So did you, you already typed something up?
No, so I posted a Google Doc for them to type their informational writing piece.
Okay.
And it's in their Google Classroom. Can I then annotate that in Cami?
So how that would work is you would need to, within Docs, if you go to, I believe it's, I don't know if I'm going to say file, there is sorry, let me get a doc open to get my exact verbiage, but you can save it or download it as a PDF.
Oh,
and so
okay.
That doc into a PDF, and then that's when you will open it within Cami, and then you can hit on it. Do you know
Okay, so if it's a PDF, then I can annotate it.
Yes.
Okay, so would it be just as easy to use the comments in the doc then? Is that kind of doing the same thing?
You are. I guess you would, that markup with having more color and, it might be more efficient, but it is going to be another step to download it first to put it into Cami.
Okay, because that's what I was thinking. The annotation with the markup would be handy to kind of highlight parts where they did it well or not. I guess you can do that in a Google Doc too, but okay. I was just curious.
Yeah.
They can do that in a Google Doc, but I think it really helps them in Cami being able to see it right on there instead of having to go over and reference the comments.
Yeah.
That makes a huge difference.
Okay.
If the kid has the Cami extension downloaded on their computer, even if you have not assigned it in Cami, you can instruct them to open it using Cami. So that's a great option to have too.
Okay. Yeah, that wouldn't be too hard because they've had to open things in docs before too, just because of the document differences. But so that wouldn't be too hard for mine. But okay.
Thanks for sharing that, Carrie.
I know Carrie has used it with her students for a few years now, right, Carrie?
Yes, it's been a God save, especially switching to NTI with a lot of the kids that normally have to have paper copies of things. As long as they can see it directly on there, and I even encourage them to use the writing tool on there to write down any observations in picture form, like smiley faces if this is a good point, frowny faces if I don't like this, circling facts, and taking it even a step further.
Thanks for sharing that, Carrie.
So awesome. Any other?
I have a logistical question. Are you sending these forms to the office managers for PD hours?
So I haven't sent it out yet, but where you complete the form, we have, it goes into a spreadsheet, and I'm sending that spreadsheet to the office managers so that they can look and see. And so if you say, oh yes, I did all 4 of the digital takeouts, then they'll be able to look on that and see, because it has a timestamp for when you filled it out. So it'll have the 4 different dates.
Okay, perfect. So she hasn't received anything yet from you. You were waiting till the end.
Right.
Okay,
right.
Perfect. I just wanted, I was checking my PD hours the other day, and she's like, you only have so many. And I was like, oh man, but I figured you just hadn't sent them yet. So I was just double checking.
We were afraid if we sent it out before it was over that they'd look at it once and say, well, you weren't.
And forget about it. Yeah. Yeah,
So,
no, that's totally fine. I mean, I would have done them without needing the PD, but they've been very helpful. So I appreciate your all's, time
well,
with it.
thank you. All right. So once again, thank you, Carrie.
Thank you all. Have a great day, ladies.
Bye.
Bye.